There are people who walk into a room and say nothing, yet something shifts. Conversation softens, posture straightens, heads turn without knowing why. Respect appears like a shadow behind them, silent but undeniable. You've seen it, haven't you? You've watched someone enter quietly, without force or volume, and still they were felt more than people who filled the air with noise. And you've wondered, how can silence speak louder than words? How can someone be respected without ever demanding respect? Here's the paradox. Many silent people did not begin silent. Silence was learned. Silence was survival. Silence was the armor forged in childhood rooms, where being loud meant being dismissed, ridiculed, or ignored. You may know this intimately. You may be the one who stands in the corner of conversations with a mind full of galaxies and a mouth sealed like a museum after closing hours. Not because you have nothing to say, but because the world once punished you for speaking. And yet, those same quiet people, if they learn the shape of their silence, if they learn how to hold themselves, how to occupy space without filling it, become the most respected people in any room. Not through dominance, but through presence. Not through volume, but through gravity. The paradox is simple, but brutal. The silence that once protected you can become the very thing that elevates you, if you learn to wield it with intention. Psychologically, the quiet person often emerges from three adaptive mechanisms. 1. Hypervigilance. A nervous system wired to scan for danger instead of expression. Silence becomes a radar, a shield, a way to avoid emotional collision. 2. Fawn. Response. Not fight, not flight, but blending. Becoming small enough that no one sees you as a threat. 3. Impression. Management, a form of self-editing where you calculate every word to prevent judgment, embarrassment, or rejection. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is protecting you the best way it knows how. In many cases, the default mode network, the brain's introspective system, becomes intensely active. You don't just enter a room. You observe it like a scientist. You track tone, posture, and micro-expression. You analyze the environment before you speak. Your silence has been trained into precision. It's not emptiness, it's awareness. Think of yourselves as deep oceans. Noise is the surface. Stillness is the depth. You aren't quiet because you lack words. You're quiet because you carry too many unspoken ones. When we examine social respect through a psychological lens, we find something powerful. People respect what they cannot easily read. Mystery has weight. Stillness has gravity. The brain is magnetized by unanswered questions. A silent person becomes an open loop, and the human mind hates an unfinished story. But let's not romanticize silence without honoring the wound behind it. Because before silence was power, it was painful. There is a particular loneliness that follows those who do not speak. The world listens to the loudest voices. And you learn to disappear just enough to avoid harm, yet not enough to feel fully alive. You learn to fold yourself into corners, to swallow ideas, opinions, and brilliance, to become smaller than your own potential. And the grief of that is invisible. No one praises the words you never said. No one thanks you for the anger you buried instead of expressed. No one sees the child who learned that confidence was dangerous and vulnerability was expensive. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your silence is not fate. It is memory. It is a habit. It is a defense mechanism that outlived the threat. You stopped speaking to avoid rejection, only to become unseen. You stopped sharing to prevent judgment, only to feel misunderstood. You stopped expressing pain, only to carry it alone. The thing that saved you is the thing now suffocating you. This is the core pain of the quiet one. We want to be respected without performing. But sometimes we forget to exist loudly enough to be noticed. Respect without words is possible, but not without presence, not without embodiment, not without reclaiming the space you once surrendered. Quiet children become complex adults. Adults who... You might relate to this. You enter rooms scanning for emotional temperature before you speak. You feel drained after social interactions because you're processing everything. You struggle to accept praise because invisibility feels safer than visibility. You speak only when your words are perfect, rehearsed, and risk-free. You overthink small decisions, fearing they might inconvenience someone. You avoid conflict so smoothly, people assume you're unbothered. You are present but rarely fully seen. And in relationships, you become the partner who holds everything in. The friend who listens more than they are heard. The coworker who works quietly while others get credit. The person everyone respects privately but forgets to acknowledge publicly. Not because you lack power, but because you've hidden it so well. This is not personality. This is coping. This is adaptation shaped by experience. And the first step to transformation is not speaking more. It is witnessing the silence inside you without shame. Healing begins when you stop gaslighting your quietness and start understanding it. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is raw potential. But potential must be shaped into presence. So how do you win respect without saying a word? You do not force yourself to be loud. You refine your quietness until it becomes influence. Here are the practices, the unlearning, and the rebuilding. 1. Stand like you belong. Not rigid, rooted. Posture is the language of self-worth. 2. Move slowly, intentionally. Haste signals insecurity. Stillness signals inner authority. 3. Use eye contact like a pulse. 3 seconds on, 1 second off. Connection without aggression. 4. Speak rarely but precisely. Silence makes your words land like stones in water. 5. Choose presence over performance. Don't shrink to be harmless. Don't disappear to be accepted. Reparent the child who learned to hide. Let them know the world is no longer a battlefield. Let them step forward, not to shout, but to exist. Because the goal is not to become louder. The goal is to become undeniable. And remember this: respect is not earned through noise, but through gravity. Not through dominance, but through presence. Not through speaking, but through being. You don't need to fill rooms with words. You only need to fill them with yourself. You are not here to be invisible anymore. And if this truth resonated with you, please stay. Subscribe. Share this message with the quiet ones, the unheard ones, the people who were taught to soften their footsteps. Because silence is not emptiness, it's depth. And depth is unforgettable.